It happened on late-night television, a stage built for laughter, applause, clever banter. Stephen Colbert, armed with wit and timing, leaned forward with a grin and asked a throwaway question. "What do you think happens when we die?" The audience chuckled, expecting irony, a punchline, a playful deflection. But Keanu Reeves did not laugh. He did not smirk. He didn't reach for humor or armor. He paused, a breath. A silence long enough for the room to realize something different was arriving. He looked down, then up, not at Colbert, but somewhere beyond the camera, into a space most people avoid. And he answered, "I know that the ones who love us will miss us." No cosmic theory, no metaphysical claim, just truth. Simple enough for a child, heavy enough for a saint. Colbert froze. The audience stopped laughing. The moment shifted. Television turned into prayer. In that instant, Keanu Reeves was no longer a performer, but something else, a philosopher, not of books, but of experience. He spoke like a man who has walked through darkness, buried futures, sat with ghosts, and understood the only thing that survives us is love. Tonight, we follow that thread. How did he arrive at such clarity? How does a man who has lost so much choose not bitterness, but presence? How does Keanu Reeves live without clinging to the past or fearing the future? This is the journey into his mind, the quiet architecture behind his gentleness, because that viral line was not an accident. It was the distilled philosophy of someone who learned that the deepest wisdom is not in knowing the answers, but in accepting what remains. Most people live as if time is endless. We postpone apologies, delay healing, save love for later, and assume there will always be another season, another chance, another tomorrow. Keanu Reeves once lived like that too, until life dismantled the illusion. River Phoenix, Ava Archer Syme Reeves, Jennifer Syme. 3 names, 3 unfinished futures, 3 moments where tomorrow evaporated. Each loss carved the same lesson into him. Time is not a river, it is a drop, one drop at a time. This is the foundation of Keanu's philosophy. He doesn't race anymore. He doesn't chase urgency. He has seen how easily everything disappears. Most people waste time because they believe they have infinite amounts of it. Keanu doesn't. He learned young that people vanish mid-sentence. Birthdays arrive that no one attends. Phone numbers become disconnected not because someone changed it, but because they're gone. So he began to treat time like something sacred. Grief changes shape, but it never ends. What he didn't say, but what his life reveals, is that grief also becomes a teacher. When River Phoenix died, Keanu realized that shared jokes, late-night conversations, and youthful invincibility can collapse in a single night. When his daughter, Ava, was stillborn, he realized there are futures you mourn without ever having lived them. When Jennifer Syme died, he learned the cruelest truth. Love does not guarantee duration. So Keanu stopped living for later. Later is unreliable. Later is an illusion. He started living for now, because now is the only moment that cannot be taken away. Watch him in interviews. He pauses before speaking. He listens fully to questions. He rarely interrupts. He carries silence the way others carry armor. That is not shyness. It is mindfulness. The past is gone. The future is unknowable. The only real place is the moment we are standing in. Keanu did not read this in a philosophy book. He learned it as a survivor. He once described acting as jumping into the moment. But the truth is deeper. Acting didn't teach him presence. Loss did. People ask why he seems gentle, soft-spoken, patient. It is because Keanu Reeves has learned to speak only from where he stands, not from who he was or who he might become. He does not cling to memory. He does not negotiate with destiny. He occupies this breath and lets the rest fall away. This is how he escaped despair, not by forgetting, but by refusing to compete with time. Every smile he gives, every kindness he offers, every subway seat he yields is born from one conviction: The present moment is the only place life actually happens. He lost people he thought he'd have forever, so now he loves the moment that exists instead of the one he imagines. This is the origin of his calm, his stillness, his strange radiance. Mortality did not break him, it awakened him. And once awakened, he sought places where the mind could stop running, where he could meet the now not as a concept, but as an experience. For Keanu Reeves, that temple was not found in meditation halls or spiritual retreats. It was found in motion. Keanu Reeves is not a thrill seeker. People see the motorcycles and assume adrenaline, speed, escape. But ask anyone who knows him, and they'll tell you, Keanu doesn't ride to go fast. He rides to be present. Motorcycles became his monastery. You cannot dwell on the past while controlling a machine that weighs hundreds of pounds and travels on two thin patches of rubber. You cannot project the future when a fraction of inattention means injury, or worse. A motorcycle forces you into the only safe place, now. Keanu once described riding as meditation through danger. He said, "When you ride, you're thinking about what's in front of you. You're not thinking of anything else." To outsiders, it looks reckless, but to someone who has lived with ghosts chasing him, there is a strange comfort in a vehicle that demands presence. It is ironic. The man who lost so much chose a practice where distraction is punished instantly. But that is exactly why it works. Riding became the discipline that grief could not breach. He would speed through empty highways at night, the wind roaring, the world blurring, his mind still. This was not running, it was arriving. There is a story, whispered by stunt coordinators, about a ride so intense that they call it his demon ride. Keanu once rode late at night with his headlights off. Dark road, moonlight only. A silent bullet cutting through the void. Not to rebel, not to show off, but because sometimes he needed to feel the razor-thin line between existence and erasure. He has the scars to prove it. Collarbone shattered, ribs fractured, hamstring torn, teeth chipped from impact. Pain became his instructor. He learned the limits of flesh, the fragility of concentration, the price of not respecting the present moment. He emerged not hardened, but softened. Motorcycles taught him humility. The world is larger than you. The future is not promised. The only certainty is the inches beneath your wheels. Years later, he co-founded Arch Motorcycle, a boutique company that handcrafts bikes not for speed, but for soul. He describes their design philosophy as a machine that gives you an intimate relationship with the road, a machine that disciplines awareness, a machine that erases the chatter of memory and the anxiety of tomorrow. Motorcycles made Keanu Reeves a student of impermanence. Every ride is temporary. Every mile evaporates behind you. Every moment demands attention and disappears instantly. This is not escapism. This is Zen, a moving meditation where danger becomes teacher and scars become scripture. The more he rode, the less he lived elsewhere. Not in yesterday's grief, not in tomorrow's fear. Only in this curve, this breath, this heartbeat. And through asphalt and wind and risk, Keanu discovered something profound. The only way to survive is to arrive. But arrival does not only happen on highways. It also happens in silence, in ink, in shadows, in pages written not for fame, but for healing. Because when he finally stopped moving, Keanu found another way to hold the present moment. He wrote it. When Keanu Reeves finally stepped off the motorcycle and sat still, he found another discipline waiting for him: language. Not the kind written for scripts, interviews, or branding, but the kind you write for yourself, for the parts of you the world doesn't see. It began as a joke, a playful poem he wrote for a friend to tease her sadness, a tongue-in-cheek reflection on melancholy. But as he read it aloud, the room didn't laugh. They listened. Because beneath the humor was something unmistakable, the voice of someone who had befriended sorrow. That poem became Ode to Happiness, a minimalist book that looks like a children's story, but reads like a meditation for people who have cried in private. A few years later, he wrote another, Shadows, a collaboration built around photographs of his silhouette, a man captured but never fully seen. Art critics tried to classify it. Publishers tried to read into it. But Keanu dismissed interpretation. He said simply, "It's about what it feels like to be here." This is Keanu's secret. He doesn't run from darkness. He plays with it. He is not a victim of grief. He is a sculptor of it. Where others numb, deny, or harden, Keanu creates. He transforms sorrow into ink, pages, meaning. This is Stoicism in motion. The pain is real. You cannot erase it, but you can shape it. He writes not to escape suffering, but to sit with it. To say to it, "You are part of me. Let's make something together." Most people are terrified of their sadness. Keanu befriends his. He once said, I don't think sadness ever goes away." But he didn't add panic to that idea. He added acceptance. In interviews, he often smiles when talking about loneliness, not tragically, softly, as if he has made peace with the shadow that follows him. This is the transformation that makes Keanu Reeves so unusual. He doesn't deny what hurts. He integrates it. He doesn't bury his darkness. He plants it, he waters it, and it blooms. When fans ask him for advice, he does not offer solutions. He offers presence. He is not trying to fix the moment, only to experience it. Ode to Happiness and Shadows are not books for critics or collectors. They are meditations for people who want to feel less alone inside their own sadness. Keanu discovered that the moment you stop fighting pain and start listening to it, it becomes something else, a teacher, a companion, a doorway to empathy. But his philosophy doesn't live only on pages. It lives in how he listens, how he pays attention, how he treats the moments that arrive in front of him. Because presence is not only internal, it is relational, and Keanu Reeves has mastered the art of being with someone while being entirely with them. In Hollywood, everyone talks. Interviews, panels, photo shoots, podcasts, a culture addicted to hearing itself. But Keanu Reeves does something radical. He listens. Watch him at fan events. Others scan the room, searching for the next more important person. Keanu does not. When someone approaches him, he turns his body toward them. He lowers his shoulders. He meets their eyes. He waits. He treats the person in front of him as if they are the only person alive. This is not performance. It is his practice, presence. There are countless stories. A disabled fan once struggled to speak through nerves. Keanu didn't rush the moment. He breathed with him, waited for him, and when the fan finished, Keanu thanked him, not for admiration, but for sharing a moment. A young boy once told him he lost his father. Keanu knelt, did not offer cliches, did not try to fix the pain. He whispered, "I know how that feels." Then he stayed until the boy was ready to walk away. No cameras, no speeches, just presence. This is the part of Keanu Reeves the world misunderstands. People assume he is shy, aloof, awkward, but what they are seeing is mindfulness. He is not thinking about his image, the next question, or the crowd waiting behind. He is thinking about this person, this conversation, this moment. Presence for Keanu is not spiritual rhetoric, it is discipline. Perhaps it came from grief, perhaps from riding motorcycles where seconds matter, perhaps from realizing that time with people can vanish without warning. Where others chase opportunity, Keanu honors arrival. He once said, "I don't want life to feel staged," which is another way of saying he refuses to abandon the now for a hypothetical future. Slowly, deliberately, he smiles, he speaks softly, he thanks them. Most celebrities treat fan interactions as obligations. Keanu treats them as encounters. He remembers names. He asks questions. He looks people in the eye so they feel seen. This is why so many strangers walk away feeling changed,
not because they met a movie star, but because someone finally listened to them. Philosophers speak of mindfulness. Monks speak of presence. Keanu practices it on sidewalks, film sets, airport lines, dinners with crew members who expect invisibility and instead receive attention.
He lives his philosophy not in books, but in behavior. He knows that life happens not in timelines or dreams, but right here, in whoever stands in front of you. His ability to listen is not a trait, it is a worldview. The present moment is the only place you can meet another soul. This is why people call him kind, compassionate, different, but the source is simpler. He refuses to abandon the now for anything else. Still, there is another side to Keanu's presence, a playful one, joyful, almost childlike. A place where he can exist on stage, in sound, in vibration, not as a star, but as a human being. And it lives in music. Long before the world crowned him the Baba Yaga, before audiences worshipped him as Neo or mourned with him as John Wick, Keanu Reeves was standing in a garage with a bass guitar strapped across his shoulder. The band was called Dog Star. Not glamorous, not critically worshipped, just three guys playing music because it felt good. Hollywood scoffed, reporters sneered. The A-list star in a B-side band? But Keanu never cared. He loved the act of playing, the vibration of strings, the pulse of rhythm, the shared language that doesn't need words. Music was another form of arrival. Here was a man who could sell out stadiums with his face alone, choosing instead to play small clubs, county fairs, and tiny stages where no one screamed his name. He would tune his own bass, carry his own gear, laugh when critics mocked him, because fame never entered the room when he played. Only joy did. Dogstar disbanded in the early 2000s, but the spirit never died. Decades later, they reunited. Not for nostalgia, not for publicity, for the same reason he gave away millions, because he wanted to. Watch him perform on stage today. He smiles like a child discovering sound for the first time. He sways, almost shy, shoulders tucked, eyes closed. It is not performance, it is presence. People often ask why someone of his stature would return to a small band, touring humble venues instead of arenas. The answer is simple. Keanu Reeves values experience over significance. He is not chasing a legacy, he is chasing a moment. A single note played well, a laugh with his bandmates, a crowd of a few hundred sharing energy without pretense. This is his rebellion against everything Hollywood worships. He does not play to be seen, he plays to feel. And the truth is, he does not need to be the center. He prefers being part of something larger than himself. Bass players are rarely spotlighted. They are foundations, gravity, pulse, seen only when missing. That role suits him beautifully. Keanu Reeves does not seek front stage importance. He seeks harmony. Dogstar is not about fame. It is about now, just like motorcycles, just like poetry, just like listening. Keanu's life is an ongoing meditation. Be where your hands are. Be with what you are doing. Be with who is beside you. Music is one of the purest expressions of that truth. His band is not perfect, and that is perfect, because the point is not mastery, but presence. And presence is where Keanu Reeves found his way back to life. But his story does not end with motorcycles, poems, conversations, or guitars. Those are forms. The meaning comes from what they teach, that the present is sufficient. And that philosophy leads us to the closing truth of this documentary. Keanu Reeves does not merely survive, he is awake. So what is the secret? How does a man who has buried friends, a child, a partner, and entire imagined futures still walk through the world with gentleness? How does someone who knows the worst of life still smile like it isn't over yet? The answer is simple and terrifying and beautiful. Keanu Reeves learned to live only in the now. He does not demand that life repay him for what it stole. He does not rehearse old tragedies. He does not anticipate catastrophe. He has accepted what most of us resist, The past cannot be fixed. The future cannot be controlled. Only this moment can be lived. This is the source of his calm. He stopped waiting for happiness. He stopped bargaining with destiny. He stopped believing that life someday will justify itself. Instead, he began drinking from the moment in front of him.
A subway ride. A birthday cake on a curb. A motorcycle curve under moonlight. A quiet bass line in a garage. A conversation with a stranger who just needs someone to look them in the eye. Keanu Reeves is not enlightened because he has answers. He is enlightened because he has surrendered the need for them. He once said, "I don't need anything. I'm grateful to be here." That sentence is the apex of his philosophy. Presence over possession. Attention over ambition. Being over becoming. He does not try to be important. He tries to be here. And that, ironically, is what makes him important. Hollywood has actors. The world has icons. But every few decades, a culture receives something rarer. A sage. Someone whose life, not their roles, becomes instruction. Keanu Reeves survived the darkness to show us the light.
He does not teach with lectures. He teaches by example. Pause before you speak. Listen instead of perform. Forgive the past. Don't rush the future. Be kind when no one is watching. Treat life like a visit, not an acquisition. He reminds us that happiness is not a destination. It is a moment, and it is already here if we can see it. That is why he looked so profound on Stephen Colbert's stage. That is why his answer echoed far beyond humor, far beyond television. I know that the ones who love us will miss us. That is not cynicism. That is compassion. A recognition that loss is real, love is real, and we only meet it in the time we are given. Keanu Reeves is not the hero because he does impossible things on screen. He is the hero because he shows us what is possible in life. To suffer without turning cruel. To lose without closing. To grieve without disappearing. To live without clinging. That is not cynicism. That is compassion. A recognition that loss is real, love is real, and we only meet it in the time we are given. Keanu Reeves is not the hero because he does impossible things on screen. He is the hero because he shows us what is possible in life. To suffer without turning cruel. To lose without closing. To grieve without disappearing. To live without clinging. He is the rare soul who walks through the world lightly tethered, rooted not in fame or wealth, but in presence, and in that presence lies the good life, a subway seat offered quietly, a stranger cared for, a poem whispered, a motorcycle engine humming between breaths, a bass line played not for applause, but for joy. Keanu Reeves is not escaping time, he is inhabiting it, and that subtle, silent mastery of the present moment is why he is the sage of Hollywood.